Hello, this is AstroKrys from CodaQueenAstrology. Welcome back to my channel. Very excited about this video. Today we're going to be talking about the solar eclipse in Gemini. And can't wait to get into all that good stuff. But first, I'd like to invite you to follow me on IG. I go there live every week where I host Ask the Astrologer segment. I also host rooms on Clubhouse, in Astrology Club, and also the Astrology and Esoterica Club. Please join our Astro group if you're interested in learning more from me. I host and have guests in that group in regard to everything astrology and the spiritual journey. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and comment below. Let me know what you thought about the eclipse forecast, or if you have any suggestions on videos you'd like me to make. Okay, so let's get started. The solar eclipse in Gemini will be happening on June 10th of 2021, and that is going to be activating any degrees that you have exactly at 19 degrees of the mutable signs, which is Gemini, Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. Now there's an orb, I want to say between 10 to 20 degrees, actually like 10 to 25 degrees. This energy will be influencing you. Why? Because the node is at 10, and then Mercury ending at 20, but there should be a little wiggle room for the orb. So all of the mutable signs are being impacted in regard to the eclipse. Now, this eclipse is also the last eclipse of the Gemini series, because the next eclipse in November is actually going to be in the sign of Taurus. The next lunar eclipse will be in Taurus, and we will no longer have eclipses in Gemini, as the nodes will change to Taurus and Scorpio until 9 years, when we do the nodal swap, or we'll have the north node in Sagittarius and the south node in Gemini. So it'll be the opposition of this solar eclipse axis. Now, the interesting part of this eclipse is that the ruler of the eclipse is in the sign of rulership, which is Mercury. Now, Mercury is retrograde and it's at 20 degrees. It's actually forming a conjunction to the sun and the moon, and very close to them. Eventually will form a Cazimi aspect with the sun, but that's going to be after the eclipse. Another big major aspect that the sun, moon, and Mercury are making is that they're squaring Neptune. Now, Neptune has been a pivotal point in regard to last year's astrology, because while the nodes were transiting the sign of Gemini and Sagittarius, Neptune has been in the sign of Pisces. And Gemini and Sagittarius square the Pisces energy. So Neptune has been playing with a lot of aspects and contacts with the Gemini-Sag axis. And definitely a big part of this eclipse energy, especially because it's squaring the ruler of Gemini, which is Mercury here. And Mercury will continue to make aspects with Neptune after the eclipse, as this is the second time that Mercury makes a contact to Neptune, and in July it'll make the final contact when Mercury goes forward from retro and then passes through the same degrees again and hits that 22-23 degree mark. So what does it mean to have the ruler of the eclipse squaring Neptune? Really, this time is just it's interesting because there's mixed dignity in this outcome. Having the ruler of that zodiac sign and having the amplified energy of the solar eclipse typically would make this more of a supportive axis, especially because it's a eclipse that's emphasizing the North Node. However, the things that are going to be coming up are going to be unfinished because of the fact of that square. So there's going to be things underneath the surface that we're not very aware of, things that are happening that we are not informed about, or we can't really see clearly at this point. And we'll be able to see a bigger picture once Mercury hits this degree again on its way forward from the retrograde. So that chart is also going to be important and something to consider in regard to what needs to be fully unraveled and revealed to us. But it is something with working with our karmic direction in that house. So whatever house in your chart that is ruled by Gemini, you are doing some work and some karmic releases in that area, especially if they're around communication or healing any past childhood issues, because Mercury is connected to that childhood energy, and the sun and the moon connected and being very close to the North Node when they form this eclipse. It's like a new moon on steroids. It's a new moon with huge manifesting power, and this type of eclipse is way more impactful because it's combining the North Node energy. One more thing that I noticed about this specific configuration is that the nodes are actually on fixed stars of Aldebaran and of Antares. So Aldebaran, which is Archangel Michael, sits around this 9-degree mark, and so does Archangel Uriel, which is Antares, and that sits around the 9-degree mark. So both of these archangels are opposite of each other, and they are being activated by that axis. In addition to having Archangel Archangel Gabriel, which is Falmahat fixed star, activated as well by Jupiter, because that angel sits at 2/3 degrees Pisces. It actually moved a little further up. So that is also a point where we're seeing a lot of activation of the angels. And honestly, when I was interpreting this chart and looking at everything that was going on, there's mixed qualities to the energy of the solar eclipse. And I'm not one to provide any negative input or to, share fear ideologies. But this eclipse is quite intense because there's something underneath the surface that we're calling up on the angels for assistance. So it just seems to be that they're all aligning. Even from Jupiter's perspective, Jupiter is forming and applying square to Gemini, and also a separating square to the energy of Sagittarius shortly after Jupiter goes station, but he's still going direct. So the mutable energy highly activating, meaning that we have to change, we have to move directions, we have to make decisions, we need to be flexible, things around our communication, because it is involving Jupiter. It's also going to be talking about our ability to set boundaries and more of healthy boundaries, because Jupiter is very boundless. It rules the energy of Pisces. The zodiac co-rules it with Neptune. So Pisces energy is quite highlighted because both of the rulers of Pisces are in that zodiac sign, and they're making those squares to the energy of Gemini, making things more exaggerated. It's also going to bring things around foreign affairs to the forefront, because Jupiter rules the sign of Sagittarius, and it also rules the sign of Pisces, which Pisces means faraway places overseas, and Jupiter is faraway places over land. So transportation is very highlighted, in addition to Mercury also ruling transportation, which is lower forms of transportation like local travel, small flights, or shorter distances. So there is going to be some issues in regard to that. Now, the energy of Neptune and Mercury squaring can be quite challenging, especially if you're not used to this, because it does call us to slow down a bit. Now, Mercury being retrograde, we naturally need to slow down or we'll make a lot of mistakes. But when there's that square to Neptune, it actually calls us to really slow down. It's like walking with a blindfold. So we need to use our intuition. And sometimes our intuition could be a little off just because we're not really using all of our senses. So this is a great time to just kind of develop your intuition in a way or form or shape or anything in regard to that. But also for you to listen to music, write poetry, get creative, use the arts. Neptune does really well, and with the arts, it actually rules music and drama and photography, somewhat overlapping with that energy of Leo. But Neptune is more on a whimsical scale versus the Leo would be more like dramatic. So it does love some things in regard to what Leo rules and what Venus rules, and Neptune is a higher octave of Venus. So all those things that are about expressing ourselves in more of an artistic and creative fashion, they're all good for the energy of Neptune. And because it is squaring the energy of Gemini, and that ruler of Gemini, which is Mercury, it's going to confuse our way of thinking, our way of processing, and why not develop our intuition more? If we are more logically disconnected because of this strong aspect, then following our intuition or doing something that's more artistic and not necessarily too detail oriented like the energy of Gemini and Virgo like to be, and those are both of the signs that Mercury rules. So that quality is to have everything in order, to kind of nitpick, to multitask, and Neptune does not really flow that way. Neptune likes to go with the flow, disconnect, rest, go to spas, overindulge. So it's a different type of energy, and this is why this configuration is quite difficult. Now we have the energy of Jupiter there as well, which comes in and expands it even more. So we can take advantage of this time by really, really working on developing our intuition even stronger, or using the arts to release some bodily stress or tension that we have been experiencing by all these heavy aspects that are happening. But there's some good qualities to this solar eclipse, so it's not all bad. Now, Venus is in the sign of Cancer, and by house, it's actually still trining Jupiter. It's a separating trine, and eventually Jupiter will go back into the sign of Aquarius, and Venus then enters Leo. So another big shift in energy is that Mars is at the 29th critical degree of Cancer, and then will be entering Leo. Now, Mars in Cancer is highly debilitated, and it's also separating from an opposition to Pluto. So this can be quite a quite a transformational and violent time. Mars is not like the greatest planet. Actually, out of all the planets, Mars is the most aggressive and violent, which can trigger accidents and places and situations or scenarios that are not the greatest for our favor. So we need to be watching wherever we have 29 degree Cancer, and especially if we have any planets between I want to say 26 all the way to the end of Cancer. So 26 to like 30 degrees Cancer. This Mars will be activating your chart. And if you have any cardinal planets, then you'll be aspected by either a square or an opposition. So just be mindful of that, because Mars will be changing and shifting direction, but not without leaving with a bang. Making that opposition with Pluto is quite felt, and you will know when Mars goes into the sign of Leo. Now, Mars does well in the fire sign, so in the sign of Leo, it will be much more channeled energy, like correctly channeled through Mars. It's more frustrated in the water sign of Cancer. So that's the great thing. The thing is that this is a critical degree, so something needs to be finished, and it's capturing the energy within the solar eclipse. So the moon is actually ruling Mars still, and the moon is eclipsed. So we have to be extra careful and making sure that during these days, right before leading up to the solar eclipse and a little bit after, that we are taking things slow and trying to prevent as many aggressive or headstrong interactions, or even trying to not be out there driving, because Mars can cause road rage. And because and the reason I'm saying road rage is because Mercury rules vehicles, and Mercury is part of this configuration. The moon is there and it's eclipsed. So Mars is not doing so great in this chart. I think Mars is one of the more malefic points of this solar eclipse, and this is why the energy of this eclipse itself, there's good qualities, but then there's also some that are a little bit more concerning. Now, Mars by aspect is not sending a aspect to the eclipse itself or any planets in the eclipse. It is in a separating trine with Neptune, and Neptune is squaring. So in regard to the forcefulness of Mars and sending that to the energy of Neptune and Pisces, we might be a little bit more impulsive. And even though we know we need to slow down, we're going to get surge of energy to kind of speed things up, because that Mars is ready to just kind of shift energy, and it's getting a little bit antsy and erratic. Now, another thing that I see here is Uranus at 12 degrees, and it's reaching 13. So shortly after, we're going to have the second Uranus and Saturn square. And they will square again, which would be the second time they have a contact. There is a third time later on this year, and that's also a very revolutionary time and highly energized with change. Now, Uranus is much stronger because it's not retrograde, even though Saturn is in the sign of rulership, and it's the ancient ruler of Aquarius. The modern philosophy in regard to this planet is that Uranus rules the energy or the zodiac sign along with Saturn of Aquarius. And because Uranus is direct and Saturn is retrograde, it's looking like Uranus has the upper hand. So wherever we have this Taurus energy, the tension is going to be felt on the opposite house, which is Scorpio. So look to see if you have any planets between 12, no, more like 10 to like 14 degrees in the sign of Scorpio, because you're going to get a little jolt, a little push with that Uranus and Saturn square. So all in all, when looking at this solar eclipse, the themes are all about education, early education, the collegiate industries, the travel industries, foreign affairs and laws and policies, and also a direction in change in regard to the economy. Now, all I can say is the solar eclipse it does have a double take because the ruler is retrograde. So there's going to be repeated cycles when this degree gets triggered that are also going to give us more information and tell us a little more in regard to the things we couldn't see clearly with that square to Neptune. But one thing that I just noticed, the ruler of Venus is the moon this time around, because Venus is in the sign of Cancer and the moon is eclipsed. So that's also going to bring matters in regard to the economy, and this can affect any country that has a dominant Cancer energy, such as the US, because we have a Cancer sun. So it is going to be talking about the economy, the country's economy, the homeland. And I noticed too that asteroid Ceres, which is the asteroid of abundance, and the Earth is connected to Uranus. So there's going to be some developments around the agriculture and the food industry that are going to be quite shocking. And Venus is controlling that Uranus energy in addition to the asteroid energy, but the moon ultimately is the one that is controlling Venus, and then the moon gets controlled by a Mercury that's retro. So that's something to think about, because the quality of Mercury retrograde is mixed, as it is in rulership, but it's retro. So meaning there's going to be some delays or some things that don't really pan out, but things that do. And with Venus having the ruler eclipsed, that means matters around Venus. And so that's going to be love, money, resources, food. It's also the way that we spend our resources. So all those things are going to be impacted, and we will see a lot of changes in regard to that. Wow. So something to think about. I really feel like most of the zodiac signs are going to feel this on different levels, but it looks like a lot of the zodiac signs are involved in different aspects of the eclipse. Like example, the mutable signs, that is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, are directly being affected by the eclipse, but also Cancer and Leo, because they're part of the eclipse. And then we incorporate Mercury, which is ruling both Gemini and Virgo, so they get a double whammy from the eclipse and also from the ruler. And then if we tie in the signs of Libra and Taurus, they're also being afflicted because the moon is ruling the signs of Venus and Taurus, because Venus is falling in Cancer. So and then we have the fixed signs also feeling it, because we have a configuration from Taurus, which is Uranus squaring the energy of Aquarius. And that is another sign that's really highly involved in everything that's happening. And it looks like this time around, oh wow, I was about to say that that the signs that are not afflicted much were Mars and Aries, but that's actually incorrect, because we have Mars in the sign of Cancer and the ruler is eclipsed, and Mars is also on a critical degree. So the energy of Scorpio and the energy of Aries is also being influenced by this eclipse. And last but not least, we have Capricorn, and that's the only sign I did not mention. And Capricorn has Pluto opposing Mars. So all of us are feeling this energetic shift on a different level, and we are all going to be coming out transforming an area, but it is going to be subtle changes because Mercury's retro and because of that square to Neptune. But soon enough we'll see clearly through the waters, and we'll be able to see the gift or the change and transformation that this configuration has brought to us in our life. I would like to thank you guys for being here. Thank you so much. If you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification bell, and let me know how this solar eclipse has treated you. Thank you so much. Take care, and until next time. And if you like this video, check out these other two. I'm sure you'll like them too. Thanks. Have a good one. Bye-bye.